Hello, everyone. So great to see you. Is this on?
Yeah, right.
Hello, everyone. So good to see you. Some people I've seen recently, some not very often. So I'm Trish Wilkinson. I'm secretary for the Writers Guild. Have been for a very long time now. Just because I love these people. And I'm actually standing in to run the meeting for Mike Cooper tonight because he couldn't be here today at a family thing he was dealing with. So, but I'm very excited to see you because I haven't been to a meeting for a while, so might as well come back with a bang and lead the meeting. Anyway, so welcome, thank you for coming, because writing is kind of a solitary thing, right? So it's great to meet other people who are doing what we do and get it. Okay, so we always like to start out by welcoming everyone, then telling everyone what's going on that month. So I have up here on the screen in front what's going on in July. So many things going on in July. So Dudley's Bookstore, author Laura Pritchett and Marina Ritchie. And Westside Community Center, author Lisa. And all of these have links. So if you just go to the CentralOregonWritersGuild.com, or you'll be able to see all these things, and they're all on the right side. Obviously, our very large letters of our meeting tonight. There's a poetry play shop on July 10th with Krana Kapalong. And July 11th, there is an event both at Roundabout Books and Paulina Springs. And it's really great when we can support our local authors. So if you can make it to either of those events, author Leslie Stevens and author Joe Wilkins with Ellen Larson. Paulina Springs, our very own author Mary Krakow for a book signing. Mary, stand up so everyone can.
That's the book show day, so plan for parking issues.
Yeah, but she's a lovely human and a wonderful writer, so definitely if you can make it to that, that would be wonderful. Another one, July 13th at Paulina Springs, Marie Bostwick. And anyway, you get the idea. At Spork, they're having a Raging Writers Spoken Words. And then not sure how to say that for the other one, but the Nature Journaling with Deschutes Land Press. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm not going to read through all of these things, but there are a lot of great things going all month long. So if there's any, if you have an inkling to go to anything to support other writers or to see what's going on in Central Oregon, we actually have a really healthy writing community here in Central Oregon. And I did want to mention upcoming conferences, events, workshops, and classes. Willamette Writers Conference is July 31st to August 4th, so that's coming up. And the Forge 10-month writing program, September 24th through June 2025. It's actually Mike Cooper and Irene, and I believe Ellen Watterson's group. Oh, I said it wrong. Anyway, so they are our local people. They all have MFAs. They're great at coaching other writers. So if you want to be in an ongoing program, I've heard from several people it's a wonderful program. We've gotten a lot out of it. And then Irene is going to be doing a workshop in September, the 19th through the 22nd on forms of revision, poetic tools to hone your writing. And those are always really fun, just so you know. And then we are still arranging the November workshop for Central Oregon Writers Guild. And Mary, do you want to introduce our reader, today's reader?
before you do that, I also wanted to bring back a book that I got a couple months ago from here. It was a poetry book and it's beautifully done. Does anybody want to take it and bring it back at some point?
What's it called?
It's conflict resolution for holy beings poems and their Native American writings. It's beautifully done. If anybody wants it back, I don't know who we're going
Our own private book club.
Yeah.
This, so it's not your name.
Small group today.
Did it fall out of something?
Yeah, it's still.
Why a lot of folks would be
Did it fall out of something?
No, she unplugged it. We're good. Small group. It's really hot out. Glad you could come. It's nice and air conditioned in here. Every month we have a featured reader who is one of our own members that reads something that they've been working on. So, today's reader is Joan Gordon. She's a textile weaver. She creates colorful images. The sudden loss of her identical twin started her writing endeavors. Divinely, she received lines toward recovery. Patterned words imaginatively and rhythmically honor her sister Jill and tell Joan's artistic journey through grief. Weaving in emotionally textured wefts results in a tapestry of hope. Please welcome Joan Gordon.
Can you stop just a second? Are we supposed to be online, please?
We are, but she's handling it back there. That's the only.
I wasn't sure if that cord was not plugged into. Sorry, Taylor.
Can you hear me okay? So this poem is called The Mending Thread. And I have a note to start with that thank you to author Lisa Wingate. In her book, The Story Keeper, she mentioned the words mending thread, which sparked this writing. I immediately had to put the book down as this piece flowed through me. It was written in August in 22, just over a year since my identical twin passed away. The mending thread. Is that what I'm doing now? Am I completing my sewing project? Mending my life, mending my heart, mending my spirit after my identical twin sister's death. I've been working hard at darning, fixing, and repairing, making alterations to my project of reality that changed drastically after Jill passed. It is definitely different than what was planned. Needlework in patches, suture-ripped seams ruptured by loss. Recovery and recoupment is in progress. Quilted designs of handiwork are intricately restitched with needle and thread, notions and supplies, utilized to rework a life. Additional knots have been tied, fastened, and combined in order to continue on. Constrained, restrained, and correlated, but with less freeness now, as I understand true reality. My loss cut into my fabric, creating torn openings never experienced before. Nevertheless, stability comes with love. Supplemental knots reshape and recreate order from tangled mess. A tattered world is being reassembled, one linked joint at a time. Rejuvenation is happening. My family gathered again to restring and reassure our connections. Sewn unseen threads tie me to my siblings even tighter, circling us together, bonding and bundling more now that our second sibling is gone. A substitute web is constructed, attaching all of us with filament without Jay and Jill. Two losses that left huge holes in the arrangements of our lives. But we are again fastened, adjoined, and fortified with love, knowing and seeing all are doing okay. There will always be a few threads of frayed strands left dangling that cannot be totally repaired. Life continues to resume, embroidering back together what is left. Also affixed and never forgotten are long-distance floating strings connecting them both in our hearts and minds. My husband and I are bound and united even more securely as I seem to need that extra pull and tug of closeness since Jill left. Hugs that support, tighten, and trust. He's been there for me to further restore the brokenness and fit the pieces back together. An alternate pattern is appearing. Even the words of my poems are tied together with a constant theme, moving me forward to heal open sores and wounds around death. A progression of thoughts are sown from my journaling after Jill died to my poetry dedicated to her. Mending stitches bind happiness, sadness, and loving reflections together with fine threads passing in and out, like grief or a shuttle. An unforeseen design has been created. Also tied in is my hobby, which oddly enough is hand weaving. On a loom, I manipulate fibers, yarn, threads, and wire, all of which are items to mend and intertwine. I'm weaving my way through and past grief, reworking a tapestry in celebration of Jill, tying it all in her life from my memories, photos, and memorabilia that openly embody her. I've added in the colors of her warm heart that is jointly interconnected down to the deepest internal levels with mine. A beautiful composition is coming together. Every fiber of my soul has been twisted, pulled, tangled, and weaved. All is now loosening and being unfurled. It is being rebuilt with recycled material used in a fresh fashion. My world is refurbished. I'm restored and moving forward in my life, carrying along with me the attached strings interlaced directly into Jill's heart. She is guiding me. My new woven tapestry is a combined journey of events, emotions, and moments. It's not as strong and is solid enough now to hold, link, repair, and reform a pathway and bridge, crossing over from grief. I am renewed and creating again. Regenerating, remaking, and reconstructing is a life's process. The mending thread is working its magic. Even bows are just fancy knots tied for decoration, an adornment on a gift. Is this my gift? The threads of time and love are commingling and continuously stitching, repairing, and mending. Thank you.
Sounds like a lot of growth. It's very nice. I loved all those metaphors. Sounds like a lot of growth. Especially knowing how you create, well, like the earrings that you're wearing, she actually weaves metal and creates all kinds of beautiful jewelry. Anyway, so thank you very much, Joan. That was beautiful. And our featured presentation, our featured speaker this evening is Michael Stephen Gregory. Michael has been putting together conferences for, what did we say today, 36 years, right?
Yeah.
And he's done 2 to 3 of them per year. So talk about a pro, and he's here to talk to us about, because eventually we're going to have a conference here in Central Oregon. But he's going to talk to us about why go to a conference in the first place. What kinds of things can you expect? What's the purpose of going? What's the value of going, and things to look out for? So, Michael, it's up to you.
How much wiggle room do I have? All right, here?
Got the full space. I was gonna say maybe take the microphone in case the folks at home are having.
All right, gotcha.
But you can move a little bit from there.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I got lost coming here. First time. I've been here almost 11 years. It's the first time I've been on all 3 years. So, conferences. Boy, there's a lot, you know. Just as, I'm gonna have to hold this, I guess.
You probably do, because it's online, yeah.
Just as with their being no single right way to write a book. And today, even publish a book, there's no single right way to do it, only an infinite number of wrong ways. The key is finding your way, whatever you're writing, whatever aim you have for success. For some, it's just being published or having finished what you've written. Many writers do not finish what they write, let alone write it well, because of a failure to do one thing. And it's probably worse today than ever before, because of the myriad avenues that are available to facilitate premature e-publication. Traditional press, indie, boutique, totally self, hybrid, which is close to it. The thing about a writer's conference, it's very much like publishing. There's no single right way to put on a conference. There are all sorts of different writing conferences. How many people have been to a writing conference? Okay, how many people have had a great experience? Okay, Trish, your definition of a great experience at a writing conference?
Well, I had been to a couple of not so great ones, and I ran into Michael's conference actually in San Diego. I don't even know how many years ago,
Okay.
many years ago. And what I love is that it's smaller than a lot of the other conferences. The workshops are smaller. You get time to actually talk to people and get to know people. There are one-on-ones with agents and also just coaches, you know, because a lot of times we think we're ready before we're ready, if that makes sense. Like we write a manuscript, we think we're all ready, and then somebody who knows what they're doing looks at it and says, oh, you could do this and this and this. So for me, it's connecting with other people as well as developing some of the skills that I needed to develop and learning the business of it. So for me, a great conference provides great education and is fun, and you meet a lot of people.
Well, obviously I'm going to speak to the Southern California Writers Conference, but I've also spoken at a lot of other conferences, and there's different vibes, different communities, and different emphasis on some conferences. Some conferences are very panel centered, where it's a table full of writers usually, and they're all about just gabbing and gabbing. And sometimes you find morsel of information. It only takes one particular, nugget that can make the difference in the clarity of your vision or execution. Then there are conferences where it's all about the people behind the podium, not the writers in the room. And you're taught at, not to, your work. Probably the thing that most writers here and everywhere working in isolation have is a lack of empirically qualified feedback from professionals who've been there, who know what's going on. And surprisingly, you'd be surprised how many don't know what's going on. So our conference, and what we're aiming to do here in Central Oregon, is very craft-centered. It's about eyeballs and ear wells on as much of the conferee's work as possible. Because so many writers work in complete isolation, they're relying on feedback from people who are not experts at execution, who do not know how to deftly critique material, let alone troubleshoot it. And so consequently, so many writers, they're relying on their friends, their families, some kind of writers they know. And the problem with that is, well, if your friends say they like it, what do they know?
Right?
And if your family or somebody doesn't like it, well, the hell with them. It's your family, they resent you. They resent you for having something to show for your valuable time. Execution is everything. We have a saying at the conference. Aim for excellence, settle only for exception. This is the thing. This should be everybody's go-to phrase. It should be on your wall. Because so much mediocrity is being published today. And I don't mean just in the self-publishing world, there's a lot of mainstream books, a lot of mainstream material, every genre imaginable, in particular thick wit, that really puzzles the mind, is how we want to get published traditionally. Two, the lack of compelling storytelling. It's an issue, and I mean in every genre, but that's not the point. The point of a conference, what is the point? Well, we'll start with that. The New York Times reported a while back that in 2021, book scan, of the 3.2 million books that were scanned, tracked in 2001, 3.2 million. Less than 1% sold more than 5,000 copies. Now, I don't know what the math is today. There's a lot more stuff being published today. And that's just the stuff that's being tracked that we're talking about. So you think of all the mediocrity out there. How do you stand out? So at our conference, our emphasis is on craft and execution. Yes, we do the business stuff, the more into the weeds, better. Because right now, so many writers are making choices that they are not prepared to make, either through a failure of information, or poor information, or not being able to identify their weaknesses and exploit those weaknesses to their benefit. And I'll give you an example. Look at how many people are publishing, take upon themselves to publish their own book because of ease of publication. How quickly can most of you look at, see a book and go, that's self-published? Pretty easy spot, isn't it? Usually what? What's the first giveaway, typically? The cover, that's correct. Because how many people in this room are graphic artists? Okay. Okay. You probably would know what you jacket.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah. Yes. But you see, time and time again, as with the execution, with the prose, regardless of the genre. And I see this a lot in narrative nonfiction, in particular memoir. We have a lot of memoir coming to the conference because everybody's life is so bad. Everybody's in search of that thing they never had. They'll find it only in the hills of Sicily with a hand string. But the thing is, you know, being able to identify your weaknesses, you know, and exploit them to your benefit and know what you have to pay for. So what happens with the conference is a lot of people go to the conference and they don't know what they want, other than to meet an agent. Everybody wants to be an agent because very few people go to a conference having already made a decision to self-publish. I would say publicate. Yeah, that's why I stopped myself. The thing is, most people go to the conference for a variety of reasons. Some don't know where to start. Some are new, some have been sitting on a book for a long time or a manuscript, they haven't started, don't know where to start. There are issues of POV, it's just all myriad things we all know as writers that a lot of people don't know they don't know. And that's the number one thing. When you go to a conference, you have to go, what is the objective of my going to this conference? What do I need? There will be the writers who come and they just want some qualified feedback. They want to know if the work's working or not. And if it's not, how best can I fix it? What things, what tools are at my disposal? And then of course, there's I spend a lot of time on the phone with writers, especially that are new to conferences and whatnot, because that can be kind of freaky experience, especially if you have not had anybody look at your pages. And we put in a lot of pages at the conference in our different tiers of workshops. And this is what we have planned for when we get going here in Central Oregon. Basically, same sort of structure. Traditionally in San Diego and LA and Irvine, we have 5 simultaneous tiers of workshops going on, hour and a half each. Hour and a half, that's an important thing to keep in mind. Many of the workshops or conferences out there, they just want to speedball through it. You know, 50-minute panels, 50-minute sessions, 50-minute this, 1 hour if we're lucky. I don't know what you can accomplish in an hour, let alone 50 minutes. And if the panel of a bunch of talking heads, where are you? involved in this. You can listen, well, you can go online and listen. That's not gonna help. You need interaction. You need the energy, you need the community. You need to have a feel, a reality of isolation from everything else in your life that's distracting you from your writing. And that's where a conference comes in, if it's the right conference. But you gotta have an objective. Often people will come to the conference and they're convinced. Newbies, that is. We have a huge amount of people who return. We've had people coming to the conference. I was going to the database. And I mean, we had somebody who had been away for 12 years and just showed up again. And we had people going back to the 80s who still come to the conference when we started the thing in '86. But the thing is, why? And I like to understand why. Well, because one, it's a community. Two, it's a very specific community. It's about one thing in particular. Your work, your aspirations, how can we get you there? How can we better facilitate opportunities depending on what your objective is? And since so many writers don't know what they don't know, many will come into a conference with the expectation that once an agent sees my material, that agent's gonna sign in. We just finished our 62nd conference between San Diego, Palm Springs, and LA Irvine. At 62. The next one in February will be 63. Our 39th San Diego conference. And although we've facilitated well over $4 million worth of first-time book and screen deals over the years, it reached a point, especially with the popularity of just going directly to Kindle and now hybrid and all this stuff, you just can't really track it. But there are books that haven't picked up by agents, but it's a rare thing. And frankly, there's so many agents today that aren't really trying that hard. There are agents who are hungry to build their list. I know that anybody on Twitter, does the manuscript wish list and whatnot. And one thing we've noticed in the last recent years is many of these agents, acquisition editors too, the material they say that they're looking for often is not the material they're looking for. You know what an agent is looking for at the end of the day? Take a stab, money. So you are a graphic artist. And I've seen agents of friends of mine, agents who will bemoan a genre. Don't like that genre, don't handle that genre, and then they actually get a chance to look at pages and go, I suddenly love this genre because I can sell this. And the thing is, when it comes to agents and whatnot, it used to be a racket. I don't know if this is truly the case anymore, but there was a thing, and we made it clear on writersconference.com. If you're an agent who just wants to go to a nice hotel and hang out for the weekend, and you're not sincerely looking to build a client list, then we're not the conference. We want hungry agents. And we've been lucky. And of course, there have been some duds, but that's just the way. Agenting is tough, especially in this climate. And of course, everybody's an MFA graduate, and the variety of stuff being handled is really kind of coming into focus. Wouldn't you agree? Agents. But the thing is, I'm scattered, I know, because I've got a lot of stuff to cover, and it's very difficult just to talk generically about a conference without understanding what your objective is first. So I tend to think a lot of people beyond, I want an agent, I want to be discovered. Well, that's important, but the thing is, in the past of all these books that we managed to facilitate getting published after all these years, these decades, these many, many drunken nights. The more business gets done at the bar, by the way, at a Good Writers Conference than in any workshop. That's fact. An agent is not always the direct path to publication. So many books that we've managed to find homes for have come not from the agents, they've come from people on our staff who recognize potential of a project. One passionate advocate One passionate advocate, that should be your only objective when you go to a conference, beyond improving your work and ensuring that it's as good as it can be. You know, we have a saying, write more,
Suck less.
suck less. Everybody together, write more,
Suck less.
you gotta believe that. Aim for excellence, settle only for exceptional, because there's so much good stuff out there that you're in competition with. So you write more, suck less, you aim for the top, but you certainly don't start with mediocrity. You can write it, but then have to edit it and rewritten until that mediocrity is up and at the wrong. Whatever the next one above mediocrity is. Not sucky. Not as sucky.
Practice makes better.
But the thing is, one passionate advocate, and you never know in what form this passionate advocate will be. Will it be a freelance editor with many contacts? Will it be an author? Will it be a workshop leader who's an author? You just don't know. I'll give you a fun story. I love this story. It's in a movie we're making, actually, the story. We had a gal, first time at the conference. We're in LA. And one of the things that we do that a lot of conferences don't is we don't have pitch sessions, agents and stuff. We don't do that. And there's a reason. There are probably really good writers in this room who cannot pitch worth a shit. And it undermines the willingness of a potential agent, potential acquisitions editor, a potential anybody, if you're so clunky with your pitch that it undermines their willingness or even interest in looking at what could be an exceptional manuscript. So what we do is, beyond reading sheet workshop, we have a tier for that, is we have, instead of pitch sessions, you submit the first 15 pages, because we all know, anybody who knows their job knows first 10 pages. I have 15 because I have screenplays. But the thing is, we all know pretty much by the end of the first page whether we're the hands of a writer or not. Storyteller. It's that quick. And the thing is, if you have an astute critiquer, because some agents are very good, others can just react to, I can sell it or I can't, and literally cannot speak for the 15-minute one-on-one appointments. Pages are submitted in advance. At the conference, there's a 15, everybody who's paid for this service gets the 15 minutes with their however many readers they went with. Okay, 15 minutes. I literally have agents who sat down. Now, these people are writers paying good money for this opportunity. This is a rare thing. You can sit down, this agent has actually had eyeballs on my work, and it's not working, you're not interested. Tell me why. Give me some information. Give me some. I've had agents actually go, yeah, I really can't do anything with it. Okay, you got 14 more minutes. So, you know, the things you have to take into consideration when you're going to conference. One, what's the objective? If it is an agent, well, you better be sure that the material is ready for prime time. And make sure that the agent is genuinely interested in the genre. So here's a story. This gal, she a Caltech scientist person, young in the 30s, and she studied owls, big ass owls. She submitted to an agent. I did not have any communication with her. Sometimes I have to guide people, try to figure out who's the best person for them. Do they really need an agent? Because what I try to do is keep people from submitting to agents unless I'm absolutely confident that the work is probably okay. You're not going to blow your money on a waste of time. But you know, sometimes because there are many writers who are very not sure, very certain that their work is ready when it isn't. So I try to go to authors and work in the same genre, editors I know, stuff like that. Unless I'm really confident, nobody should be wasting their money on with their work. Nobody can't speak to address the specifics, you know. So this gal, she didn't call me in advance. She just showed up at the conference, And I get a phone call at the conference while this is going on. Anybody know Jane Goodell? Goodell. So, this scientist girl, big fan, okay, girl. I didn't know this, I'm just at the conference. And, I get a phone call. And the administrator, the paperwork, my partner was in San Diego. And, she got a package apparently. And, when this scientist gal had, sent her pages in. Oh yeah, it was Chrissy was going back and forth. And Chrissy opened up this envelope, and what the gal had done is with the pages, she had sent Chrissy a postcard, because Chrissy had been so helpful with her in the emails and their exchanges, guiding her, through the labyrinth of advanced submissions. And there's a picture of this owl, a baby owl, who adopted this girl, because I can't remember why they couldn't keep the owl tag. So the owl went home and lived the rest of its life, entire life, with this wonderful science girl. And Chrissy, former partner, she was so smitten with this owl that she calls me up. It's like 8 o'clock at night. We're just crazy busy at the conference, and tells me about this owl, and that I needed to introduce her to this one agent that we really like. So I call her agent, we have a drink. 2 things happen. One, the agent, just based on our advice in this, I still have a postcard. On this picture of this adorable owl, wasn't ready for prime time, not even close. But this particular agent was a very unique agent. If she believed in something, she's one of those agents who would work it and work with the writer, and it took a while. It took over a year. And that's before she even started putting it out. It wasn't ready. But in the meantime, at the conference, Goodall was looking for somebody. And so this agent got her on this anthology with Goodall, her hero. So that's 2 things. Now, she would never, none of that would have happened for her. This book she went on to write, her name's Stacey O'Brien. It was published back in, I don't know, late aughts, maybe. International bestseller to this day, periodically. Wesley the Owl, it's called. It is the most enchanting book, internationally beloved. People love this book. None of that would have happened had Stacey not inserted that postcard, because the manuscript was in such poor shape. But this particular agent saw the potential, and it was a good deal when it finally sold. And again, I think it still remains in print today. So these are the things, one passionate advocate. And in this case, it was somebody who was at the conference, calling me to cajole somebody at the conference to take a look. And that's how fortuitous the route can be, versus just showing up and the agent goes, I want it. This happened. We've had, a couple of very major deals where that has happened, but that's the anomaly. Those are the Cinderella stories you hear about. And that's why you have so many agents buying the conference deal, because in the scandalous times, there was a big agent or a big conference who was flying out all these agents, putting them up to hotels, all that sort of stuff, and would only ask them back if they requested X% of the pitches. Doesn't matter if you're interested in it. If you don't request X number, then we're not going to have you back. It's just a racket. So you got to be careful. And now today, I think there's so many predators out there today. And all that I want to do is have get a book deal, sell a book, make some money. Agents wise, there are people have a integrity and whatnot, and they want to represent the best. But it's hard to represent the best right now. Because there's just so much volume and so much mediocrity out there. And, you know, being an agent is tough. You imagine all day just going through these pages and pages and pages, and that's where these art conferences really need to do that. You gotta at least have eyeballs on the pages, because a pitch, even a bad pitch, you're interested in it, well, if I have to guarantee them that, you know, request X number, yeah, send it to me. Think they're ever gonna read it? You know, pitching is tough. And that's the thing, a lot of conferences are all about pitching. And it's a skill. We all should have it. But you know, it's nerve-wracking enough. You just written an 85,000 word book. Okay, you got 2 minutes, go. What's it about? Well, the vampire's gay and it has no teeth. Pitching is tough. But the thing is, you gotta figure out what your objective is. Are you really walking into a conference and I'm gonna walk out here with a book sale? Or are you gonna walk out with a better book or better tools and sufficient information to make the right decision? You know, some people are not cut out to do self-publication. Some people are. Some people are really good writers and really poor marketers. You know, and that's of course what everybody's trying to sell. How to market it, right? How do you sell a book? Well, that's a good question. If less than 1% of 3.2 million books sells less than 5,000 copies, you got to figure out what is the objective here. Why am I writing this book? What is the why? And for whom? So writers' conferences, they're useful. And if they're running them well and improving your craft, expanding your community, hopefully finding like-minded, passionate advocates for each other. Because it only takes one. You just need to find that one. And to find that one, you've got to demonstrate some particularly great skill. I mean, we can all be affable, hang out, have fun, and a conference should be fun. But that's not the number one objective. The number one objective is to ensure or better enable writers to get what they wish to be. And not every writer is looking to be a bestseller. You know, for some writers, we did a thing, we're gonna do it here too. We had beyond the conferences, we started not a retreat per se, we call it a summit, where it's hardcore 2 days, devoted tracks, and get a lot of writing done, but you know, it's really hands-on. The first one we did, we launched it, was in Sun River, the Sun River Writers Summit. And you know, one of the tracks had to do with legacy publication. A lot of people are writing because they want legacy. They're not looking to become bestsellers. It'd be nice, but that's not the point. The point is an affirmation of purposeful being. And in fact, you can pretty much apply that to any genre. You know, we write as an affirmation of purposeful being. I was here. I did this. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully somebody who doesn't know me will like this work, right? Isn't that something? A stranger. You communicate effectively to a stranger across a page. Likes your work. That's a noble pursuit, trying to win over strangers on a page, let alone on a pitch. Any questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
So one of the writers that came out of the conference was the guy who wrote The Night Agent.
Yeah, that's Matt. Cool.
Right. So when he did a series first, is that what happened, or did he
That was
connect
work,
with an
Matt work.
agent?
Yeah, so
Like, how did that happen?
I forgot the deets on that. The book did well, and I believe it just caught somebody's eye. I don't know if he had a rep on that, but the show, what was it, Amazon, I think,
Yeah.
did really well. I thought it was terrific.
Yeah, I did too. I loved it.
And second season I think they just finished wrap shooting,
I'm excited.
I think. But yeah, there's a second season. He was talking about it. Forgot what he said.
But I remember when he called you when this was happening, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, Michael, they're gonna, I wrote these books and now they're gonna make movies out of it. And Amazon, I mean, he was just like
Yeah,
flabbergasted. And I'm not even sure how to do this and what am I gonna do? And he's like, calm down, calm down.
well,
You know, and kind of walking him through it. And this was after the conference, right?
yeah, trying to think, because when he was at that particular conference, he was, it wasn't The Night Agent, it was another book. The Night Agent was old, I believe. But the thing is, we've got footage of Matt on writersconference.com. You go there, although we'll be changing the site soon because it's an old iteration of the site and we need to update it. But as you said, it's not going to be the priority. But there's a, you can navigate to SCWCTE, and Matt Coyle, talks about some really good, cool stuff. He's a good guy, he's a keep. But I don't know how that guy is. Yeah. So beyond the validation of purposeful being, there are people who really do memoirs, in particular, who do have something to say. Unfortunately, so many of the memoirs follow the same sort of story, because we all kind of share the same sort of story. You suffer a personal loss, a husband cheats on you, you lose faith. I mean, there's themes, and just they play out over and over and over. So how do you stand out? How do you make yourself uniquely you? Well, there's two ways. Yes. Come on, writers.
Don't write a memoir.
Good one. Don't write a memoir. Here's what you've got that's uniquely you. Your voice. It's only your voice. So many writers, they'll take these classes and whatnot. They'll fall into these methodologies of constructing this genre, this convention in this genre. And yeah, you can nail it. We do it in, we do it in film and television all the time as well. 3-act structure. Everything's gonna be this, and here's the beat, sing the cat. All that's nonsense. But it works, but there's a roteness to it, And I tend to look and ask for our writers to, okay, you want to do this genre? You want to do this forbidden romance? Or you want to do whatever it is, great. But don't start where everybody else is ending. Start way above that. Aspire for something with lasting impact. Aspire to something that somebody finds fresh. Because that's the same in film and television. Don't bring me any new ideas. Bring me old proven ideas spun fresh. Well, isn't that true just about every book that Maureen Corrigan reviews on NPR? She gets very excited about voice. And people should. I mean, we all know and recognize, I'm sure we all have our favorite authors, and they have, certain voices. For instance, so I have a friend who loves Anne Rice. Okay, very Florida. Loves that language. There are voices that I just love that voice, and the plots are sometimes good, maybe sometimes not so good, but the voice is so unique, and it moves, and penetrates, and makes you think, ideas and stuff like that, good characters, all this sort of stuff. But the rote, plug and play. This is a, what's that, Jack Reacher. Yeah, everybody's trying to do a Jack Reacher. Everybody. And you see the reviews, and you can't help but read reviews sometimes. And on Amazon or somewhere, it's like, oh, another aspiring Jack Reacher, And I've never read one of the Reacher books. I do like the series though, the recent one. saw a few episodes of that. But I know the whole story, right? Guy trapped with a toothbrush, right? And he's Mr. Mobile. He's a hunter, you know. Well, you wouldn't believe how many people self-publish books that are, I mean, it might as well just be Jack Reacher fan fiction. But I did not know that was a thing. But it's true. You see it in any genre you wish, except maybe, you know, literary, because, you know, literary, it's not supposed to be about anything, is it? Or is it about too many things? We don't know. Big ideas. But genre, you look at the conventions, and so many people are falling into the trap, because it's what's hot. That, yeah, well, you know, you're doing this genre, it's gotta be this, gotta be this, gotta be that, gotta do that. Not necessarily. What makes it, what if I don't? What if I need you to believe we're gonna do that, and then pull the rug out from under you? And guess what? This Otis Ripper is really an Al-Qaeda conspiracy, you know, and we're gonna end up in Gitmo, you know. But I thought it was a romance. It is. It's a romance with punishment, sadism. You know, I mean, every story is a love story. Every story in the end is a love story. It's just what's the fixation, what's the love? Violence, you know, or you know, a romantic thing. You think in terms like that. Okay, let's do a S&M sci-fi. Okay, what's that going to be a love affair with? I don't know. This thing, you know. Any questions?
You have a question?
So can you give us a preview of what you're gonna be doing for your workshops and what the books, the office is gonna be like next year?
Here?
Yeah.
Where?
You said about December.
Well, that was the
Are you gonna do that at those 2 meetings?
we want to do, we.
Paid writers, are you doing 2 paid writer summits and it's a conference like next year, like time?
Well, here's the great game plan. And so we've just had a very, very challenging 6 months. And finding a home for the conference here, Trish and I have spent so much time to find one that would accommodate how we operate. So if you want to know what it looks like, what it will likely look like, with the exception of the nighttime. If you go to writersconference.com and click over on the Irvine side versus San Diego, they're very similar, but San Diego takes place on a 3-day holiday weekend. So there's a bunch of extra workshops generally take place on Sunday night. Because our workshops, we run, in addition to the daytime tiers of workshops, which are usually 1 tier of reading critique, stuff like that, 2 tiers of craft and execution, and then the 4th tier is business and alternative. And as I said earlier, the deeper into the woods, the better, because there's so many esoteric things that people need to be on top of. And we're just constantly trying not to do writing 101. We do not like writing 101. There are plenty of places to go writing 101. What we want is the best writers possible that can come out of the conference armed with the necessary tools and understanding of what's broken in my work and how I fix it, and more importantly, excited to. Because, you know, I like rewriting. You know, as a screenwriter primarily, you know, there's just nothing more fun than a rewrite. And all the book manuscripts I consult on too. You know, if you can't get excited about a rewrite, well, you probably have a very good book. I find myself. The thing is, we're getting excited about once we identify problematic aspects and maybe come up with some ideas to make improvements and come up with new twists. You know, do downgrade characters, upgrade characters. Also, that's what you should come out of a conference with: inspiration and motivation to be the best you can be. You know, to aim for excellence and settle only for exceptional. Because if you can settle only for exceptional, it doesn't mean it's going to be a successful book. But you'll know you did the best you could. Because it's something about coming out of conference depressed It's really easy to do if you've been given nothing but defeatist, advice, you know? And versus somebody who gets excited about, oh yeah, okay, this chapter over here, this is really sucky. But if you thought about it, and then you get excited and you go home and, you know, you're back to work again. Hopefully one day we'll finish what you start. That's the most important thing. And that's another thing that conference is valuable for, isn't, you gotta be careful in picking them. There are conferences that make it very easy to get stuck and not proceed forward post-conference because of all the conflicting information. And nobody with, not that you need a single vision, but you need to understand the perspective so you can formulate the vision that you want. Yes?
So when I'm looking at promotional materials for this conference,
Mhm.
which am I looking for presenters who have MFAs or executive vice president of Penguin Books or what's the price?
Yeah, what's the price?
What am I looking for to
Well,
decide
depending on,
whether or not it's going to be worthwhile?
well, it's a totally legitimate question. And this is why I spend a lot of
And I
time.
also want to, of that 1%
Mhm.
who sell more than 5,000, how many of them have MFAs? Or are they just?
You know, the whole MFA thing, I'm not gonna offer so much my opinion as the opinion of many people in our community. Because I've had people on staff who have very, very specific ideas about MFA people. And there is a consensus that a lot of these young MFA grads who are becoming acquisition editors, or maybe they become, they get with a literary agency. And I don't know, I'm not saying it's a generational thing at all, because it's been going on for a very long time. But what so many have informed me is that their tastes, their sensibilities, their literary sensibilities are so often completely off market, traditional publishing wise, that the stuff that they want to get all goofy about, and they're so interested in representing material that deals with this subject matter or flavor of the week, is often not real world. You know, everybody wants a Jack Reacher, you know, Philip Roth. Okay, but all of these things that everybody is espousing that they're so interested in representing, okay, fine. But is the publisher interested in publishing it? They may say they are. It's really tricky out there. And it's the thing I started with. There is no single right way to write a book any more than there is a single right way to publish a book. Only an infinite number of wrong ways. What is your way? What is your path? Well, to answer your question, how do you just ascertain who would be interested and would be worth it? Well, depending on where you're at with material. If you think it's ready for prime time, then you want an agent who is proven, either is new to the agency and hungry, which is often the case, and expressed interest in that genre. Very important. A lot of people will submit to an agent, even though the agent is not even interested in the genre, because they can be convinced that if they just lay eyes on those first pages. Here's a little FYI, I forgot to write it down. If you do this thing, whether it's with what we call this, COWG,
Central Oregon.
Central Oregon Writers Conference, or the SCWC, because I'm going to do that. But let's say you're submitting material to an advanced submission reader, which is what you would do at our conference if you wanted to. Remember, we do a lot of reading critique workshops. So, getting material feedback on your material is very important. But if you submit those first 10 pages, and again, you have one objective: to make the reader want to turn the page to 11. That's the only goal. If it's an agent or an editor or an author, doesn't matter. If they don't want to turn the page, then you failed the job. So one, you want to whittle down to who would be responsive and what your objective is. If you read it prime time, you want an agent, acquisitions editor, or a freelance editor, make sure, whatever. The one thing that's absolutely imperative is to put a cover letter on it. You would not believe how much material we will get in prior to a conference. And there'll be the 10 pages, first 10 pages, no cover letter. The reader has no idea what genre they're dealing with. You know, thought it was a romantic comedy. Oh, no, it's a serial killer mystery. I did not know that. That would have helped. Let the reader know, yes.
So what all should be in the cover letter?
Well,
That's listed on the website. People just don't read directions.
yeah,
I mean, it's laid out.
Can you give us the website, maybe, so you can find it?
It says,
writersconference.com. The, here's what should be in a cover letter, as little as possible. You know, this is the title, this is the gist, genre, gist, here's who I am, weighs in at 85,000 words. Something like that. Sweet, just let the reader know what they're getting into, so they know that this is a, you know, a dragon thriller, or this is a whatever genre it is. Because sometimes in those 10 pages, this has happened. I've had to look at pages. I was convinced I was reading this genre, but no, it's supposed to be a comedy. Well,
Well,
you
you
know,
know
what
it
it,
wasn't if you didn't
what it
laugh.
helps with that one? Making me laugh would
Yeah.
help, you know. But the thing is, if the reader doesn't know what they're getting into, then their expectations, they have no expectations. You know? And what if they really like the first 10 pages, convinced it's gonna be this, you know, going home, story. And, reconciling with, you know, family or something, but the reader has it on their head, this is gonna be that. And then you meet with the writer, you go, oh, no, it's a completely different genre. It's nothing like that. Well, that's a waste of money right there. You have another aspect of that question.
Well, still trying to figure out what I look at on promotional materials.
On the emotion, on the promotion material?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at what are they, is this a good fit? Is this somebody, an agent, is an agent who, handles this genre or has expressed an interest in the genre? We ask the agents, you know, thing I'm most, concerned about when it comes to bringing agents on board. Because, just because they're an agent doesn't necessarily mean they're a good agent. Is what they're not interested in. That's what I would know. Because then I can help guide, or any of us can help guide people to the right people. You know, their agents is, you know, they'll take pretty much anything. And there are some agents who can handle a lot of stuff. There are people who really absolutely don't want anything to do with this genre, whether, you know, sci-fi or hard sci-fi or whatever, or you know, fantasy, whatever. But the thing is, you gotta pay attention to what they don't want. That's the thing. And if you don't pay attention, then you're wasting your money, wasting your time. Unless it's an agent, you know, like what goes back with Stacy. In fact, I think we had Sally involved here for one of the monthly meetings, didn't we? Did Sally moderate something? Yeah, the agents panel.
yes,
Yeah, that was Sally. Sally was on that panel. She moderated it. She's the agent. And she can sit down and talk writing, talk craft, talk execution, talk troubleshooting, come up with ideas. You've got to do your research. You know, so many writers show up, and not just, I mean, writers everywhere, like professional writers, don't know what they don't know until it's too late. And usually what's going to cost them is either an opportunity or money, or both. So, you know, what I suggest, if you go to a conference, you figure what your objective is. Now, hopefully your objective is to write the best possible manuscript you possibly can. And if you're seeking traditional publication, great. There's, still a lot of books being published, but the thing is, you gotta look at certain things, the genre is gonna be a factor. Your understanding that where the argument is often with traditional publishing, you go, well, I'll get paid my crappy little advance, and they'll handle all the promotion. Well, those days are over. So it is increasingly incumbent, and has been for years, it's just getting worse, on the writer, even if you tread go, to promote yourself. Because very few, very rarefied, bunch of writers, big houses, get that sort of support. Maybe Rushdie gets that support, I don't know. But look at them, celebrities, they are celebrities among themselves, unless they're a very, very specific genre. In particular, the big hardcore fantasy genre, which is so popular. But how many, there's a lot of popular genres, but how many with brand new writers starting out, writers without the network for outreach? People will often ask at the conference, when should I start, promoting my book? Well, before you write it, please start, because you got to figure out. You look at your strengths, your limitations. Are you a person who can market? Are you good at marketing? Are you good at writing marketing copy? Do you have a mailing list? Do you have an extensive mailing list? Are you aware of all the new rules that have taken place since February online regarding mailing lists, regarding email protocols? Do you know if your bulk emailing is being delivered? So many things have changed since the beginning of this year, and that's affecting marketing for a lot of people. So when do you start? Well, now, if you haven't already, and you got to figure out, okay, are you really up to, you want to write a blog, or you want to write a newsletter? What do you want to do? You want to incentivize people to follow you? Are you good with social? Are you on all the platforms you need to be? Do you need to be? These are the things you got to figure out. Versus identifying, okay, here's the one thing I don't suck at. I can do that. That's all I can. I was doing an emergency, helping a writer, a debut novelist, just got a big jam. I got assigned it. And the thing I made, not a spring chicken, not an elder, but even working on this thriller for some time, domestic thriller or something. And he was pointing, I remember, yeah. So I got called in to save him and just rebuild him in less than a week. And the thing I liked about it, I got the book, I gave the book, I read it. But that jacket. I'm kidding. Fine jacket. As he just said, Michael, I suck at social media. I want nothing to do with it. I don't want any followers. I just want to point people to a site that sells my book. FYI. For those who've got books out or are thinking about long term, however you're going to publish, you know what doesn't sell books? Buy my book. Buy my book on Facebook or TikTok or wherever, any of them. Hey, my book's available, buy my book. That's not how you sell books. Maybe Stephen King could say, hey, I got a new book out. You don't have to buy it. Well, okay, well, Stephen King, I'm still gonna buy it. Spite you. Spite, not a good reason to write. But the thing is, what sells your book is your website. For the most part. You drive traffic to your website, you have a clean, informative, whatever your attitude is website, and that's usually what convinces somebody to click through to where you're plugging the book. That is so underrated. That's something that we're constantly going to deal with at the conference. But you know that. Because they say, yeah, because they make a poor book trailer. You know, some static, you know, slow moving book trailer with all this verbiage. Listen, I make book trailers. I started the live action book trailer years ago. 2000 and something. Why? Because nobody wants to read a book trailer. I'll read a book, but not a trailer. And then, of course, as I was developing, you know, Author Edge, our thing was developing that. You know, what's book trailer going to look like? It's like, it was always about, okay, I've not seen a book trailer. We've all seen these really hard book trailers, right? Slow scrolling text, usually bad animation, usually, not all, but not dynamic. And so, what do? They point you to Amazon. Well, that's not, I hate this trailer, made my skin crawl. Send me to your book, website and give me all sorts of reasons, like book excerpt, chapter excerpt, you know, character photographs, whatever your thing is. And these are the things that, bringing it back to the conference, this is the stuff you need to find out in the conference, at least our conference and any good conference, are these little inside things that not everybody's doing a video online seminar, you know? Not that they're all bad, I'm not saying that at all, there's some good ones. But the thing is, being spoken at, not to, and it's not your work I'm saying. You're just hearing me philosophize about how it should be. Well, how it should be for you and not how it should be for you. So long as you both aspire to do something really exceptional and not aim for mediocrity, you know? And that's where a conference, setting your objective. What do you not want to do? Well, mostly you don't want to write bad. And mostly you don't want to not sell your book. And even if you're going to elect the issue traditional and go with one of these other avenues, okay, are you fully prepared? Are you knowledgeable enough? Do you know how difficult it is to sell a book to a stranger? How vast is your network? How much money can you afford? How many books will you have to sell to pay for this ad buy? Any questions?
Can I add
Yeah.
to what he was saying, as far as like, when I look for a conference that I'm gonna go to, one of the things I look for, I read what the classes are gonna be about. And you can kind of tell, like on the conferences, because I've given several workshops at his conferences. And one of the prerequisites is we have to have some kind of practice. Like we give a certain kind of lesson and then everybody gets to try it out. So to me, and that depends on your preference, but if you're looking for a conference to go to, like he was talking about, figure out what your purpose is. If your purpose is to learn kind of the inside track of things, then you're gonna look for whatever is going on, like look at their lineup of workshops and whether you get to try stuff out, or if you're just gonna be sitting there and, you know, absorbing information. Because we all know that there's only so much information you can absorb.
Yeah,
Right? And it's like a practical thing. Can I use this?
Can I use it?
So that's what I would be looking for, is can I use this information? Because any conference, you're probably gonna connect with. And for me, that's one of my favorite parts. Some of my very good friends I've met. So just all kinds of connections. That part is great. But for me also, the first conference I went to was a huge conference in San Diego, and he was talking about coming home depressed. I was so depressed. I thought, I don't even want to write anymore. And then I went to his conference, just kind of stumbled into going to their conference.
Were you
which is much
depressed
smaller.
because you felt like there's
It was-
no way I can ever do this?
Right, well, I already had written a manuscript. I knew it wasn't ready, but then I went to all of these workshops where they were giving all this information and all these people were talking who had been so successful and done such an amazing job, but I felt like it's still fun. I didn't have like the hands-on, these are the things, like in my education and parenting thing that came out of brain stages, that's what I do. I break down tools that people can use. And that's what's important to me in conferences. Are they giving you tools you can use? Like, there's a great course that they do on AI. What does AI look like for writers? How can we use it to our advantage? And how can we get by it and still be useful even with all this AI? I mean, they're like really practical courses like that. Like, this is the how-to. AI is not going away. So how do we live in a world with AI and be ready and be successful? You know, I mean, things like that.
One of the things that, two things, that I know the conference you're talking about. We used to, the big, typical giant conference with several hundred people. And its primary thing, and a college is behind it, was to spend an awful lot of money flying in acquisition editors and agents. That was the thing, for pitch sessions. And people paying $50 for a 5-minute pitch. 5 minutes, $50. Move on to the next. And everybody at this time for, I can't remember when they went out of business, but we used to all take place. There was that giant conference. Hundreds of people. Everybody's lost in the crowd. No personal attention. That's not what they were about. And they were all about the people behind the podium, not the writers in the room. We used to be on the same weekend. We used to do that on Martin Luther King weekend. They'd be on one end of Mission Valley, we were on the other end. And so many people, and we went on for several years, maybe 10 years, I don't know, I moved it at some point, because so many people were coming out of that thing, having spent an awful lot of money. It was, at that time, it was more expensive than ours. And so beaten, because they discovered they were not ready to be pitching agents and whatnot. And they didn't do advanced submission, just pitching. But what they would come out of that weekend discovering is that they went to the wrong conference. They should have gone to the craft-centered conference. And where there's intimacy, accessibility, there's time, where you are afforded attention, that you warrant and your work warrants. And so that's when we bumped it into Martin Luther King. I mean, President's Day weekend.
President's Day.
So all the people would have the ability to save some money to go to the conference they were supposed to, they should have gone to. So, and ultimately it really cost them, you know. But another thing that's very important in assessing a conference, it's cool to have huge celebrity, names as special guest speakers and stuff, or even running workshops. We have, we are always developing workshops, always trying to come up with something new that we see being addressed poorly by others or not being addressed at all. We keep a sheet of ideas. I've got workshops at Wazoo, but just because you come up with a cool workshop doesn't mean there's somebody qualified to conduct it. And that's the thing. When it comes to workshops, conferences, anywhere, just because you're a good writer doesn't make you a good speaker. It certainly doesn't ensure that you're a good workshop leader. Because there are different types of workshops. Some workshops, like Trish said, you talk at, it's processing information. We try to, when we're developing new workshops, and Trish and I have developed workshops together, yes, we want to hit the information. We want this crucial information to be conveyed. But you know what's better for craft? To incorporate an exercise, interactive element. Because writers are there not just to absorb information, but put it to practice, to write, Now, our conferences with the late night rows, which we're going to cut back on this. It's just getting a little old.
But are we going to do like read and critique or whatever in small groups, even if we don't do the all night road?
I think, of course.
Because that's another thing that I really liked about this conference, and it's something that's good to look into, is that they have like little writers groups that people are reading. I mean, unless some people here have their own groups that they're working in. already, but a lot of people don't have their groups, or they just want a fresh pair of eyes to listen, so we would just take turns reading a page, and then a whole group of people that we never met before. And we have rules for how we do this, so that, you know, people don't get their feelings hurt, but then I came home so many times with a really fresh idea of what I was gonna do differently with my writing. Just working with several other writers that, you know, we had already had certain lessons in the workshops and stuff, so now we're writing in a small group and applying what we know. Because otherwise you just, for me, you just go home and forget it.
And you're not there for accolades, you're there for the student critique, you know, make something better. Unless it's just perfectly polished. We take reading critique so seriously that, we do what's called road workshops. And this is, we're gonna phase this out, I think, soon. The stamina, but they start at 9 o'clock at night. And it's not uncommon for one of them to go to 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. The record was in San Diego on the holiday weekend, so Monday's the day off, so that, they started at 9 o'clock that night. It's very, very serious group. We have a couple of very serious groups. We had an incident that kept me up all night, and I was still down there on the floor when their group finally broke at 6:30 in the morning. And 2 of the young writers, because we were done, but the tables were still out in the lobby. They continued to 7:30, the 2 of them.
Oh, gosh.
So, but here's another thing I tend to look at when looking at conferences. We all like celebrities, you know, but keep in mind this. There are many writers who are long established, far removed from the realities of breaking in today. Now, I think it's more important for emerging writers to have a perspective that is contemporary. I'm not talking about craft and whatnot. Craft is always the thing. But breaking into the business today, well, okay. If the special guest speaker broke in 20 years ago, that was a different world to break into. And 20 years ago, you know, Vanity Press was a thing. Now Vanity Press is called anything but. But unless you're being paid to publish, if you're paying, is that a Vanity Press? Now, it used to have a negative connotation, but that's not the case. You can see the poorly produced books that are privately published, bad jacks and whatnot, although there's a lot of workarounds there. I'm seeing a lot of mediocre work with great book jackets because of AI abilities. And that's not going away, you know? Nor should it. But the thing is, the sameness, how generic all this sort of stuff is. So what you need to be with your books and your stories is uniquely you. Even if the genre, that's a popular genre, Jack Reacher genre. Okay, well, can you put a spin on it?
You know what I just realized
Huh?
is, don't we end at 7?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Michael.
What?
We
We
can,
don't have
well,
to.
it's,
We don't have to leave.
it's, well,
We have the movement until, usually this portion goes on until about 7, and there's a mingle session until 7:30.
oh,
And then
okay.
7:30 is.
Okay, I just didn't want to be remiss in, like, when I was supposed to close it. Okay, so,
Well, I mean,
so we have like 5 minutes.
that's fine. I just feel like I'm trying to hit so many things. It's difficult because you know what you need. You know, it's making an assessment on what's the right conference for you. Well, you know, I tend to think that the one where you get attention to, you're not lost in the room, and not everybody's outgoing. You know, there's a lot of trepidation on the first night conference at any of the conferences. A lot of writers, a lot of anxiety who've never been to a conference.
A lot of introverts,
A lot of introverts, but you know, we have fun, and they get pumped up and they see that this is not a pitch brow forum. This is not a place to get all, you know, so serious at all. I mean, we can talk about stuff seriously, because what we do is serious stuff. But it doesn't have to be a miserable time exploring it, it's have fun. You know, write more,
That's less.
write more.
That's less.
Okay, you get that attitude, because that's what you're looking at. Yeah, you can be writing about a terribly sad, morose chapter of life, but you know, doesn't mean you can't have fun doing it, exploring the possibilities of how to execute it, you know? It's like the manuscript that wasn't funny, it was supposed to be funny. Well, that sucked. You know, you want to do something really horrible about losing somebody, okay? Milk it, that's the challenge. How best can you milk this emotion? How deeply affected can you make somebody with your prose, with your work, with your voice, with these characters? How much fun can you have, and what satisfaction might you flowing long? Dibs, I couldn't word. The satisfaction of knowing that you execute something that moved that stranger across the page. That is the greatest contribution to art you can make. To touch somebody, make them cry, make them laugh, make them feel something that maybe they were apathetic about. Make them know that every story is a love story in some way. Every story, every character, every story, whether on screen or on the page, every character, no matter how seemingly insignificant, wants something. And once you apply that to your writing, that every character in this scene, the guy, the waiter, he's not going to voice this or anything like that, but the way he conducts himself and whatnot, what does the waiter want? Tip. Start applying like, okay, I got this secondary character come in here. This character wants something. I don't need to put it in words, but I know that this character's physical conduct or side glance or whatever it's going to be is indicative of something that I know this character wants. Nobody else needs, unless they want to psych it out. You know, it's like a line we have in filmmaking, and it applies to books. One of the greatest things, first things I've learned in working on a TV show, two things actually. The first thing I learned was dialogue is action. Dialogue is not just backstory and stuff like that, or just communicating. It is action. Think of dialogue as action. That's one thing. And now you know what good dialogue is? Adversarial is always good. You know what good dialogue is? It's a dialogue you wake up the morning after the party that you wish you had said at the party the night before. But they've all been there, you know? That's good dialogue. And I like the adversarial. Any other questions? Is there anything I'm missing?
Question for you. So you said know your goal when you're going to these conferences. You also said, like for the person whose goal is to finish something.
Okay.
Going into conferences, what should somebody with the goal of finishing something, what should they be looking for in those conferences?
Well, if you can, it really depends on where you feel you're at with your writing. There are writers who they're just done. They're written out. They don't know what they've got, and this will be the first time they get empirically qualified feedback. So, is it good or not? Is a big deal. And it's not like you're getting the whole manuscript putting it through the conference. That's where advocates and making invaluable connections with others in the community. You know, a lot of kids will forge relationships and friendships that have lasted decades in the conference. And because they're part of the SCWC community, there's a style of approach to criticism and how we do things. And not everybody's, it's not a block, it's not everybody, way Trish conducts the workshops, different way I can conduct. The thing is, it's the combination of all these approaches. That's the great thing about writing. It's just a series of contradictions. What works for you flawlessly might totally derail me. I could not do what you do. Trish might not be able to do what you do. And that's the beauty of it, that's what makes it all unique. However, the tool sets, the things that, there's a limited amount of tools that are exposed. So how best do we exploit them to our benefit? You know, and what are the things that are going on right now in this environment, this publishing environment, that are not being adequately or even appropriately addressed? Because it's moving so quickly, everywhere you turn, it's just moving so quickly. I meant to look up what the current numbers are, how many books are published today, between digital and hard copy. If that was 2021, it's 3.2 million was scanned. Can you imagine what's like today? And they're not even tracking them all because, and plus you've got all of this AI fodder being thrown up. They're not even real books. They're just trying to take sales from the legitimate authors out there. And the scams that are going on right now. So, and I don't believe conferences are a scam. For the most part, I think all are sincere and they have writers' interest in part. But the thing is, who are they doing it for? What's the conference's agenda? You know, we have, you know, coming up 39 years worth of accomplishment because we've been consistent. We are a craft conference, and the business stuff we do, we treat it like a craft. Deeper into the woods, the better. You know, there's plenty of places that teach you that, oh, creating a mailing list, the subscribe button on your blog, you know, do this. It's just generic stuff. What 400 people who in the trenches, you know, people who said, you know, not everything works for me, but this one specific thing did. Oh, really? I never even thought of that. Except somebody said something recently, and I never. It was the stupidest fix. And it was just a stupid little fix. Somebody, yeah, I've had a problem with this. It was like, that would have been worth the price of the conference alone, just to learn that little stupid thing. And of course, you know, what we pride ourselves on, with, even though we're scaling back, and somebody asked about what it's going to look like here. If you go to the conference site, and you click over on the Irvine side, that's pretty much what this is going to look like here. It's a blank one schedule. I took the schedule down past September, but that's what we're building the Central Oregon one to be like. And the game plan on that, by the way, and so you want to join our mailing list. So when we find a location, if we narrow it down to a couple, it should bounce off of that. You can look at that schedule. I don't think we're going to have road workshops up here. We'll see what the interest is. But you know, isn't craft really the thing we should be addressing here? Yeah, and I mean, it looked like the Irvine one. You know, 3 tiers of. I don't know if we do a reading critique across the table here. Don't know yet. Then the 3 tiers of craft and business stuff, and evening speaker on Sunday. I'm sorry, Friday evening usually. This will be our inaugural, so we'll see. And then we usually have a Saturday evening banquet and a speaker. And then since it's a regular holiday, not a holiday weekend, that one conference that goes till around 2 or 3 o'clock on Sunday, and we call it a day, call it a weekend. That's what the shape is for here. And our biggest challenge at the moment, oh, we have, you know, I'd like to bring in some agents and stuff. We've had to improvise over COVID. I don't know, I gotta figure out some things here. Trish and I are just more obsessed with when. So the plan was for it to launch this year, but we've just had so many technical issues that unexpectedly come up and our inability to find a location. So the plan was, we put September, we're rolling September, Irvine, into our San Diego conference. That's, hopefully we're done with that now. It's had 20 years, we're good. And replace September with Central Oregon, because Bend is as much a destination as San Diego, you know, other than the beach. So that was the plan, to start in September here, but we're having challenges because this is a very, very tough town. Find one property that will accommodate us. And we would limit it like we did Irvine, no more than 150 participants, 4 tiers of workshops. And it's another thing that we do with the workshop, with rare exception. The workshops, since they're all going on, will be an hour and a half workshops, just like we've always done. If you don't want to go to a workshop, if you find the end of the workshop, you find isn't right for you, why can't you have to go to another workshop? There's very few tracks where we mandate sign up. Janice Thomas, who's spoken here, she might do her. We might have her do a track called the Novel Boot Camp, which is limited to 10 people, but it's 8 workshops. It's hardcore and it's very popular, and she wants to do it up here. So, and I know she also gave a workshop here too.
Yeah, she did, just a couple hours, or
Couple hours,
3
yeah.
hours or something.
Yeah, and so that's the plan for here. I don't know if we'll be able to do it in September though. It looks like we might have to creep into October. That's okay. It's all about the in
But the
season.
first conference would probably be, we've been playing with, we weren't able to secure a place and get all that handled in September or October, and not for lack of trying.
We're talking 2025.
Yeah.
So now we're talking 2025, and we're talking about having it at the end of, so our dream, we would like to have it maybe at the end of April, for a conference, but also to have like a summit at the little hotel in downtown Redmond. It's on, on 5th Street, super cool, real. So we may end up having 2 things, which is, one of them is a summit, like that's a retreat, that's real nitty gritty, hardcore, working on your book.
One of the workshops will actually take place in the bar.
Right,
Because it's not opening today, the bar. We use it, what a great place for a workshop.
but it has all these really cool rooms and so it would be really fun for a retreat, but it's not big enough for a conference. So we've looked at several places in Bend. A lot of the places in Bend are hard to book. They're really expensive. We're trying to keep the price down for writers. We've been kind of looking at Eagle Crest, because Eagle Crest is close to the airport, so people can come in from different places, as well as Central Oregon places, and the prices, at least when it's off season, is a little more reasonable. And that's a possibility for October, but not this October.
Yeah,
So it's just been, so we are trying to work it, and the first one, getting it together is always hard. So once we kind of get it going and we know the people we're working with and they know us and whatever, we'll be able to work out some case. So we know that we've been telling you we're gonna do this for a while.
Yeah, the challenge.
And we
is
are
the venue.
working on it.
It's in season. I mean, it's you know how it is here. I mean, we have the winter ski season and we have, hiking season. And there's a very small window and there's only a certain number of properties here. They're either gigantic and expensive. And the summit we had in Sun River, that was perfect, but everybody thought Sun River was too far.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get from the airport.
From the airport, definitely. Because we were, we were pitching it as, this is the destination. And that's why this hotel downtown Redmond is so funky, it's so cool.
It's super.
Yeah, and, but you can only do a summit, and even that's gonna be a challenge.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure it
I
out.
really think that's what it's.
But Eagle Crest is really the
Did you
place.
say something in April?
So we're looking at trying to get, Eagle Crest at the end of April, but we're still having a hard time getting a hold of people and having them get back to us. And ever since COVID, we've just had a really hard time having people get back to us, not just here, it's happening in.
Every strata of every business.
What's the name of the hotel in Redmond? I forgot.
It's
SPC.
SPC, something like that.
Yeah.
It's really funky. Isn't it
And
cool?
it's super cool. But the one we're looking at for the conference is Eagle Crest. And that'll be fun. There's like a little, store that you can walk in and get things. There's a little breakfast area, it's just a really nice campus to go on. And if we go there off season, like in October or something, it'd be a really. cozy
Yeah, I mean,
place.
ideally it'd be October. That's the idea. We want to switch the San Diego's the winter conference. Of course, winter in San Diego, February. So it's not really winter. And then the fall conference, which is September, was the one that we're replacing in Central Oregon. And so ideally, I don't think we're gonna get September, at least last time. But if we can get
No,
October,
it,
that's
it
fine.
looks like it may be October if we're gonna do press, and we don't wanna get the kind of off season, because we don't want it to be so expensive for riders that can't go. Exactly.
I mean, we want to accommodate the community here, but we also want to encourage, and a lot of people from the regular department, the existing conference, they've heard so much about, if they haven't been here already, they've heard so much about Redmond and Bend and it being a destination, that we really want to play it up. You know, because you mentioned the Willamette Valley Writers Conference, that's a completely different beast than what we're talking about.
Much bigger, yeah.
Much bigger, and I think I know one of the people who runs it. And in fact, he was on staff for us for many years. Yeah, it's a different type of conference, lost in the sea.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I've been to that conference.
Oh, you
And
did?
and it's cool, you know, I learned some things and it was fun, but I didn't walk away with any friends or really getting to know people, whatever, it's just too big. It's like, you know, going to a big public high school versus a private, you know, a small private one. I mean, it's-
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I don't see that's conducive, for anything. Other than I suspect that they have a lot of agents. Yeah,
They have a lot of, well, I would say, we don't have any.
yeah, but it's been around a long
It was
time.
very frustrating.
But that's what the one you were talking about, the SD one,
Well, that was what that was put on by UCSD.
SDSU.
Or SDSU, sorry, San Diego State University. And it was huge, there were at least that many people there.
Mhm.
So I went to all these things and I didn't have friends who were other authors and they're, you know, and I just felt like I was blah, blah, blah the whole time.
Yeah.
So,
But there's a place for this, you know?
right, I mean, if you were at a different level than where I was, you know, you may have loved it, I don't know. It's 7:15.
Okay, good, I'm good. Well, thank you all for bearing with me. I know that this.
Yeah.
Feel free to, you know, go to writersconference.com, subscribe, and we'll keep you up to speed as soon as we have information.
So we are looking at the end of April, but who knows, it may end up October.
Well, I
I
think,
mean,
until we get somebody on the phone, it's been really something. So,
leaving messages, people don't get back to you, then you talk to them later and you think you have something worked out and then they've left and there's a